Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start the proceedings. The stalwart, the industry leader or the thought leader who has joined us today is Dr. Babu Reddy. Dr. Babu Reddy is actually the Deputy Director of Research, specifically in charge of exports and market research in Coffee Board. He is the treasurer of knowledge. I think the kind of data which he holds is probably the it's the most privileged data which he has, which none of the other people across the country can have. It's the complete export and import data of Coffee Board, coffee from India. So I hope everybody is able to hear me. Can somebody confirm? Sir, can you hear me? Welcome to the program.
You are audible, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the program, sir. The stage is yours. Please enthrall the audience with the wonderful data which you have. And I'm hopeful that our entrepreneurs will be inspired to look into the export and also the trade of coffee, and specifically specialty coffee, micro lot marketing in a very different perspective after your lecture. Please, sir, please take over.
Yeah. Good morning to all. Hope everyone can hear me. Yeah.
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. Informed. I'm Dr. Babu Reddy, Deputy Director, Market Intelligence Unit and Exports of Exports from Coffee Board. Today, I'm going to talk trends in specialty and value-added coffee exports in terms of the macroeconomic perspective. I'll deal with the subject. Yeah. I'll be touching the subject since coffee being an export-oriented commodity for all the producing countries. It's a good that we begin with the global coffee scenario and understanding of the market, how it's behaving, then coming to the specific to Indian perspective. Therefore, I'll be touching on the global perspective, and it's coffee being one of the most widely traded agricultural commodities in the world. In fact, earlier used to be say after petroleum, coffee is the most traded commodity, but now it is one of the main important agriculture commodities that is traded in the world. And coffee is an export-oriented commodity for most of the coffee producing countries, including India. And also maybe everyone may be aware that most of them are developing countries in Central and South America and Africa and Asian countries where the production is dominated. And in terms of the trade, global trade, we can characterize global coffee trade into two main streams of the markets. One of the first and foremost is the bulk commodity market. The commodity market, which mainly offers the bulk coffee produced in high volumes and of standard quality, and the market is very price sensitive. While the second market is, which is of late is gaining momentum, where the growth is happening with multi-folds. It is the niche and the specialty premium market, which offers high prices for coffee exporters handling lower volumes but of high quality coffee beans. Therefore, the coffee market is characterized by bulk commodity trade as well as the niche premium market. In the contrast, when you look at the processing of coffee, is the main domain of high-income industrial countries in the north, which are the major importers of coffee, and where the value addition takes place, and they become the important players in international trade. That means both the producing countries as well as the importing countries also are the main important players in the international trade, especially in the coffee trade. Mainly because they're leveraging their existing their industrial basis and high income. These countries re-export mainly the processed value-added coffees because they import a bulk of the green coffees and process it, and they export into a roasted and soluble coffee on a large scale. In terms of the production concentration, as I mentioned, that the production is mainly dominated in the developing countries. Of the four regions, the South American region is the major producer of coffee with a percentage share of about 47 to 48%, where Brazil is the largest producer with about 35%, and Colombia, the other South American countries like Peru and all included in that region. After South American, because Brazil being the largest producer, then the second most important producing region is the Asia and Oceania. Asian region is the second largest producing region, where India is is there. Among the Asian countries, Vietnam is the largest producer, followed by Indonesia, and India is the third largest producer among the Asian countries. And in terms of the global share, we are the seventh largest producers, followed by both African and then the Mexico and Central American countries. These countries produce about 11 to 12% of the total coffee produced in the world. Therefore, the producing countries are being characterized into a developing countries at west, where the
Babu Reddy sir, your voice is breaking. We are unable to hear you, sir. Babu Reddy sir? Sir, your voice is breaking.
Now,
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you now.
Slightly better, sir. Yes.
Mr.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you now. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, can you hear us, sir?
Yeah. Yes. As I mentioned that when you look at the this graph, how that is changing of time. The producing share in exports. Vaibhav, is it? Can you hear me now? There is no.
Sir, it is still breaking, sir. I'm going to send the Geo dongle to you, sir, so that the connectivity can become better, sir.
And giving the bone pressure, if we are able to average calf, then this calf 3 go down, because in any case, then we'll not require these.
Yes.
Sir,
everyone can hear.
Yes, sir. It is better now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
All the participants to stay here.
All the participants may mute. Yeah, that's better. All the participants may please keep on mute mode so that it will be clear. Yeah. As I mentioned that over the period, when you look at the trends, the non-producing countries have significantly increased the exports of coffee, and their share, in fact, is increasing. That means producing countries' share in exports, no, declined from 80% in 1991, no, to 60% in 2018-19. That means the non-producing countries or the importing countries, the consuming countries have, have gained their share in the total exports, and mainly that too in the value added or the processed coffee farms. Therefore, the producing countries need to yes, please. This slide will explain you how the production and share among the producing and the non-producing countries or the importing countries. When you look at the production of coffee, of the total production globally, 60% is Arabica coffee and 40% is Robusta share. That over in the recent the last 2 decades or the 3 decades, the Robusta share is gradually increasing while the Arabica share is diminishing to the greater extent, mainly because the Vietnam, which is the which is a major Robusta producer, now Brazil being the largest producer of coffee in the world, which is major Arabica coffee producer, their share in the Robusta production is also increasing. While when you look at the Indian perspective also, our we have moved from major Arabica producer to a Robusta producer. That means globally the high quality Arabica production share is decreasing while Robusta is increasing. And in terms of the export and the domestic market share of the producing countries, as I mentioned, that coffee being an export-oriented commodity for all the producing countries, 70% of total production in the producing countries is being traded or exported, while 30% of the production is being consumed domestically. For majority of the producing countries, even in some of the African countries, there is a the exports is more than 90% and 95% also. India is also exports about 75% of their production. While of the 75% of the exports that taking place in the producing countries, of which majority are being traded in the green bean form. That is, the bulk of the exports are being exported in a commodity as a bulk commodity in terms of the green coffee exports, while the processed coffee exports are hardly 13% of the producing country share. As we have seen that non-producing countries or the importing countries are also playing a major role in the trade of exports. They import mainly the green coffees, and they use for their value addition in terms of the roasted coffee or instant coffee or the other formats, and then they use it as a tradable commodity. Either they re-export again to the majority of the countries. Therefore, the non-producing countries' export share is mainly dominated by the processed coffees, which is having around 74 to 75%, while still they re-export about 25% of the coffee that is being imported in terms of the green coffee. This is the characteristics of the production and export link between the producing countries and the non-producing countries.
Sir, I have a question, if I may, please.
Yes, yes, yes,
How do we
please,
account
please.
for the re-exports in this diagram? I mean, green coffee is being processed and re-exported, right?
Yes, please.
So what is that percentage?
See, when you look at the non-producing countries or the importing countries, it is much of their exports. We can say 100% of their exports is the re-export format only, because mainly because they are not producers, they import coffee, they use for value addition and re-export, or since 26% is shown in the green bean format, they much of the when you look at the major importers of European countries, Germany, basically they are the largest importers. They are again the largest exporters also, because they export both in green bean form as well as the value added coffee form, that is either in roasted or instant coffee. That is with respect to the importing countries. When you come to the producing countries, your question is much relevant, because producing countries export their own production, and also there are certain producing countries which, including India. In fact, I'll come at later point that how much re-exports also taking place, like because no re-exports mainly in the form of the value added coffee. Re-export is that the country is allowed for the import of the raw material, uses for the value addition, and re-export again. Uh, Therefore, in case of producing countries, mainly the countries where they have the value-added coffee exports scope much, there the re-exports is higher. Uh, for example, is the India, which is the largest. Probably we can say that we are the largest re-exporter of coffee in terms of the instant coffee exports. But when you come back to the major coffee producer like Brazil and Vietnam, they don't import much coffee because they have their own raw material in terms of the Robusta coffee, which can be used for the instant coffee purpose. Basically, the instant coffee manufacturers use the lower quality coffees, especially the Robustas, low price, low quality coffees used for the instant coffee and the exports. Since they have their own production capacities in Brazil and Vietnam, their imports are very minimal for the re-export purpose. Therefore, the re-export component probably in India is higher, but overall, when you look at the producing countries and non-producing countries re-export is almost like we can say that 100%. But in producing countries, the re-export share is very minimal, very minimal. So overall, when you look at the global perspective, but when you look at the Indian perspective, yeah, our re-export share is close to around 25% of the total our exports,
Got it.
which I explain at later point when I show the actual exports from India and what is the total.
Thank
I think maybe I'm clear about the subject, please.
you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please. Why the non-producing countries have significantly increased exports of value-added coffees by this time, probably you might be understood. But there are certain barriers for the processed coffee in producing countries because in terms of the tariffs, because since now having understood about that, importing countries also do the trade of coffee in terms of the value addition. Therefore, that the trade restrictions in terms of the tariff barriers mainly being placed in for the value added coffee exports rather than for the green coffee, because they need the raw material. The raw material is the green coffee. Therefore, the import tariffs at most of the major importing countries for green coffee is either 0% or very minimal percentage. However, since they have the processed um, coffees and they trade on value-added coffee exports, there are tariffs which are being placed, import tariffs are being placed, import duties are being placed for the value-added coffee exports, mainly for the roasted and instant coffee. Therefore, for producing countries, it becomes much more difficult, to get into the value addition, reach to those markets where there is a potential. Therefore, international trade in processed coffee farms, such as roasted or soluble coffee, has grown more substantially than that of green coffee. And this growth is mainly driven by a small number of countries that capture a large value share of global value chains. When you look at in terms of the unit value and volumes, the growth rates for the roasted coffee, because the roasted coffee consumption is higher, and the unit value and the volume of growth in both in terms of the roasted coffee and green coffee is much higher, and even the margins also much higher in these two segments, followed by the soluble coffee exports. But the soluble coffee exports are mainly, they have the lower margins, higher volumes. But the unit values of both roasted coffee and green coffee exports increase over time. And the unit value increase in roasted coffee exports is much larger than the green coffee, because you have the value addition there, and the margin that one can gain higher is in roasted coffee farms, which is a value added segment. Therefore, the countries or the players, whoever is involved in the trade, who concentrate on these lines will have a greater advantage. Have high-income non-producing countries, especially as I mentioned, European Union, even USA and North American countries, they have benefited most from expanding trade with strongly increasing value addition, because they get into the value addition and then use them for the trade, for the export purpose. But when you look at the producing countries, the Robusta coffee producing countries have successfully engaged in the manufacturing of soluble coffee, and these countries increasingly engage in functional upgrading, thereby contributing to the global supply of soluble coffee in a competitive, low-margin market environment. As I mentioned, as I explained earlier, the Robusta coffee, which is a low quality, low price, which is being used for the instant coffee, is successfully engaged in manufacturing. Though Indian coffees are very high quality, but India has been successful in this particular segment, and India is also become one of the major hub for the instant coffee manufacturing, as well as export of soluble coffee. That is one of the successful story for Indian, where we import a lot of Robusta coffee beans from the low priced countries, especially Vietnam and other Robusta producing countries, and use for value addition, and especially for instant coffee production and re-export. While in case of Arabica coffee producing countries, they engage in product upgrading, which I will explain a little bit in the subsequent slides, the product upgrading and functional upgrading. The high quality Arabica coffee producing countries engaged in product upgrading, and they engaged into decommodification or decommoditization of their green coffee and move into the value addition, that is through increased product quality, either in terms of the specialty coffee or the sustainability attributes, often as a result of integrated supply chain relationship between farmers and buyers, where we are today's topic is on the sustainability or the specialty coffees or the value added coffees, and these producing countries now have been engaged in product upgrading and getting into the no specialty coffee productions, and then using the special sustainability attributes or the special characteristics of their coffees that is being produced in the farm, and then the processing, and then marketing into a premium product, which of late is gaining a momentum and which is increasing over the period. But however, when you look at the global perspective, still the producing countries are shipping more than 90% of their coffees in the green bean form. Therefore, as I mentioned in the beginning itself, much of the larger volumes are being traded in a green bean form by the producing countries. However, there is a niche market or the specialty market which is gaining momentum in the later point of time. Therefore, coffee remains by and large a raw commodity export for the producing countries. That's why the value realization for producing countries from the green coffee exports, which is about to USD 20 billion by ICO, International Coffee Organization estimates, is less than 10% of the total income generated in the coffee retail market, which is about 220 billion USD. Hence, there is a lot of potential exists for the coffee growers or the other players who are involved in the producing countries to upgrade in the global value chain. And these upgrading can be defined as producers or firms moving to higher value activities to increase the value addition capabilities and benefits from production. How this can be these benefits can be occurred through product upgrading, functional upgrading, and process upgrading. While the product upgrading is mainly through quality and enhancement of the product that enables farmers to tap into the specialty, premium, or the niche coffee segments, gourmet coffee segments. This is where the product upgrading will fetch premiums to the producers. Value addition through product upgrading is by different methods. Either you use the on-farm product upgrading methods, and also on-farm production methods, and also processing methods, high-value post-harvest processing methods, which will enhance the quality of product by going with washing or say, yes, please. Adapt.
Kindly stay on mute. Somebody has unmuted. So please go on, sir. It was a
yeah. The product upgrading is by by adopting improved on-farm processing, on-farm production activities, processing activities, and like such as washing, or by adopting safety and sustainable standards, that, along with branding and geographical indications, which I'll explain further, how these can add value to the product. And these product upgrading facilities, producers can access to the high value coffee markets, and then often associated with higher farm income, since consumers pay a price premium for the high quality. The functional upgrading mainly refers to the producers taking on new roles, such as transforming green coffee, often part of a industrial, as we have understood that because of getting into more complex products such as roasted or soluble coffee, or more recently new ready to drink products, or even the micro lots or the niche products that can be evolved at the farm level. The process upgrading finally involves increasing productivity, which is here what you do, it is basically on the producer level by improving his productivity through various methods, through various agriculture practices, and then reducing unit cost, but producing higher volumes with no reducing unit cost. Uh, to understand these three upgradations, product upgrading, the success story was this is that the Arabica coffee producing countries like Kenya, Mexico, Costa Rica saw their Arabica export volumes decrease, but enjoyed in large unit value increases because of the quality enhancement of their coffees. Uh, Maybe among the Arabica, probably now majority is aware that the Colombian miles or the Kenyan coffees or the Jamaican Blue Mountain. These are all the high quality coffees which fetches highest high premiums and high prices in the market. Therefore, though the volumes are small, but they can realize the higher unit values. Hence, it is possible that these coffee growing countries focused on quality over the quantity in order to achieve higher prices in the specialty segment or the premium segment, gourmet segment, which is been they increasing over the years and fetching highest premiums. While similarly, like since Arabica is a high quality coffee producer, while in case of Robusta coffee growing countries, Indonesia experienced an increase in both volume of green coffee exported and unit values received for aid by showcasing. Similarly, even the India, in case of Robusta, because our Robustas are perceived to be closer to the Arabica characteristics of mild nature, we are getting the highest premiums in the international market when compared with the other coffee producing countries. Uh, uh, Similarly, functional upgrading. Thus, Colombia, the coffee growing country, is, as I mentioned, is well known for its high quality Arabica coffee beans. Colombia played a determinant role for the increasing concentration of roasted coffee exports in South America. Its market share in roasted coffee exports increased substantially from 2% of the roasted coffee exports of South America in 1991 to 83% in 2018. Therefore, you look at the how Colombia being used, no, got into the functional upgrading by using their high quality Arabica coffee beans for the trade, as well as to get into the roasted coffee exports. And then its success in roasted coffee exports indicate that Colombia made progress in functional upgrading. It has moved up in the coffee global value chain by carrying out more roasted coffee processing with the higher value addition. Therefore, producing countries has to get into these kind of segments to get the higher unit value realization and then higher incomes. But this has been Colombia could able to do this kind of success story by involvement of Colombian Coffee Federation, support from international coffee consumption promotion activities with certain organizations like Tomaca program have helped Colombia to overcome the barriers to roasted coffee processing and thus become more capable of satisfying global demand and also the expanding local consumption market. In terms of the process upgrading, among the Arabica coffee growers, Nicaragua, Peru, Honduras, and Ethiopia more than tripled, and Brazil almost doubled their volume. Process upgrading mainly in terms of the productivity enhancement. That means higher volumes, though they make a larger market share, uh, uh, though the quality is lower. Therefore, these countries have doubled their volume of green Arabica coffee exports, but did not achieve significantly higher unit values. Their productivity have increased substantially. They could be able to contribute volumes to the market, but their unit values are little lower because of the quality aspects. Similarly, as I was already mentioning, Vietnam, which is from 90s onwards in the group of Robusta growers, have increased their volume of green coffee exports because of substantial increase in the production share. And of late, Uganda also increased its green coffee exports, but received lower values per unit. But when you look at the Indian perspective, in terms of the total production, our Robusta share is about 70% of the total production in exports. But we fall in both volume as well as the value quality perspective, because our Indian Robustas are perceived to be the best in the world, and which always demands highest premiums in the international market. Therefore, by understanding this, the coffee sector provides value addition potential along the value chain through product upgrading, that is through better quality and convenience, and also functional upgrading with more processing activities, and process upgrading by using higher efficiency in terms of the productivity. This is an indicative prices how the specialty or the high quality coffees fetches the prices in the international market. The 2020 specialty coffee transaction guide shows that even the median price for last 3 years, $2.1 per pound for the specialty coffees, while the commercial coffees hardly fetches the $1.2 per pound. Therefore, of late, we are seeing in the market that as we have understood, there are two kinds of markets exist, with historically low prices for much of the years for the base set of commodity coffees, that is constitutes bulk of the green coffee export trade. However, on the other hand, there is a very high prices at public auctions for best of the best coffees, where we are talking about the niche coffees or the gourmet coffees or the specialty coffees. For example, the Cup of Excellence auction in Ethiopia during 2020 achieved a record high average price of $28 per pound. You just imagine with a comparing with about $1.5 per pound average commercial coffees, and then average price of $28. Therefore, there is a market segment which exists for this high quality and then high specialty or the niche segments. Of course, the highest scoring coffee, which is sold very abnormally high prices, both in Ethiopia and Guatemala. And similarly, in fact, India also conduct a Flavor of India, and we are also looking to integrate with the Cup of Excellence with global standards. And our coffees, which has been ranked at Flavor of India competitions, or the other competitions which conducts by Coffee Board, are also getting the maximum or the highest prices in the international market. Therefore, coffee, the market segmentation by quality. This is to just explain you how the different ranges, the segments of coffee that is prevail in the market. In the European Union, you have upper end. The upper end with excellent quality. Maybe if you some of you are aware the scoring of quality cupping scores, which is been evaluated by the quality experts, cup tasters. Though I am a market side person, but my quality people will explain you much better that the cupping scores. But in general, the cupping score overall with the 85% plus score are regarded as the highest quality coffees or the upper end qualities. In fact, in Indian perspective, when you look at, though we are conducting a lot of flavor of India competitions and we are moving towards close to the cup of excellence standard formats, but as of now, there are very limited coffees that are available with this kind of upper end cupping score with 85 plus in Indian coffees. While there is a mixed, no, high end segment, again 80 and 85. That means any coffee that is being scored in terms of the cupping score, 80 plus is being called as a high end or the high quality coffees. In fact, much of our coffees fall in this category. And there is a mid-range good quality coffee which which goes with both blend of Robusta and Arabica coffees. But when you look at the upper end and the high end, they are mainly the Arabica coffees, high quality Arabica coffees, and the two they are the mainly washed Arabica coffees that is wet processed coffees. But the low end, I think they are the large volumes, but they're blended coffee of lower quality and mainly Robusta. They fall in this category. And these are all the no segments that is market segmentation in the European, and the large market share is being held by the mid-range and low-end qualities, while upper end and high-end segments are the niche segments. Having understood about the global coffee scenario, I'll comment Indian perspective, Indian coffee status of Indian coffee in the world market. India is seventh largest producer of coffee in the world, but our share in the world market is around 3.3%. We grow both Arabica and Robusta, and our Robusta share is 70% and Arabica share is 30% in total production. And of course, unlike when you heard about Brazil, Colombia, Vietnam, they could able to increase their production capacities, but India could not be able to increase their production capacities due to various factors as we grow under shade and then natural calamities, and then we don't have much areas for expansion. Our production share in the global market remains either constant. Last 5 years, in fact, our production has been lower due to natural calamities that happened in the coffee growing regions, especially the last 3 years. You may be aware that heavy floods that devastated those areas have resulted in the decline in the production. But this year seems to be a good crop year, and we hope that we may get a good crop with 3.4 lakh metric tons. India, we are the seventh largest producer of coffee in the world, but India is, in terms of the trade and exports, India is fifth largest exporter in the world, with almost close to 5% of the global exports. This mainly because, as I already mentioned, that we export the imported coffees that is being used for value addition and re-exports, and total exports includes both Indian coffee as well as the re-exports. Therefore, our total exports share is much higher with 5% of the global exports. But overall, when you look at the Brazil is the leader in the world with both in terms of the production and exports, followed by Vietnam. Brazil's with close to 35% of share. Vietnam is about 17% of the production and 22% of the exports. Colombia, Indonesia, Ethiopia, Honduras, they are the largest exporters to the India. Specific to the Indian coffees, because we grow coffee in, as I mentioned, under its shade, two-type shade canopy, and is mainly grown in Western Ghats region. And it's been Karnataka being the largest producer with 70% of the total production, followed by Kerala with close to 20% of the production, and Tamil Nadu. These three states, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu, are being considered as a traditional coffee producing states in the country, which contributes around 97% of the total production of the country. While of late, the Eastern Ghats region, which with Andhra Pradesh, Arku Valley is coming up with a coffee expansion, and its contribution in terms of the area is high, but in terms of the production is very low, contributing about 3%, while area share is about, say, 16%, is mainly because of the lower productivity as it's been cultivated by the tribal growers. Therefore, the coffee in the country is mainly grown in the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats region, which is being considered as one of the ecologically hotspot areas, and which have the rich flora and fauna, and therefore the Indian coffees are have the sustainable standards and the high quality coffees. When you look at the uniqueness of coffees of India, since it is grown under the canopy of two-type mixed shade, it's have the mild characteristics, and unlike other large producing countries, our coffees are mainly being hand-picked, where the mechanization is very much limited, since the terrains are not suitable for mechanization in the production areas. Therefore, our coffees are grown in shade, hand-picked, and sun-dried. Therefore, and also they are grown on high altitudes. Since it is grown in the Western Ghats, it's nurtured with rich soils and with flora and fauna and diverse ecosystem and eco-friendly cultivation techniques, which gives unique flavor to the coffees of India, and which is being categorized under other miles category in terms of the international trade. Therefore, our coffees are mild in nature, and which have the beans with a dense, full-bodied, and slightly acidic and exciting aroma. That's one of the unique characteristics of Indian coffees, which can be used as a USB for trade promotion, and also can be there is a lot of scope that exists for the evolving a specialty or the micro lots or whatever that you term. There is a good scope for defining Indian coffees, and can be traded in sustainable manner with these facts. India is having a diverse coffee growing regions, and therefore, in fact, in order to brand these regional coffees, Coffee Board has come out with a regional logos with distinct geographic locations, and these logos have been used for popularization of Indian coffees in the international trade. As we have diverse coffee growing regions, and with distinct quality characteristics, coffees of India are very well known for the micro lots and estate branded coffees. That's where I was mentioning that we have very diverse growing regions and with unique characteristics where how it's been grown, how it's been processed. Therefore, highlighting these characteristics, there is a significant scope exists for defining our products and marketing of our coffees in terms of the estate branded or the micro lot coffees. And India is also have, apart from the regional distinct quality coffees, we have defined specialty coffees. One of the no unique specialty coffee for India is the monsoon Malabar coffees, which many are aware that this is actually this particular monsoon Malabar coffee. It's having geographical indication which we Coffee Board has obtained way back in 2008 itself for in terms of the processing of the coffee, not for the growing of the coffee, because these monsoon coffees are prepared from whole Arabica and Robusta cherry coffees, where the coffee is processed during the intense southwest monsoon period in the west coast of India. In the cup, the coffee is very mild, mellow, and neutral flavor. Therefore, the coffee, since the processing activity that takes place no, in the southwest monsoon period with this no, is having a special characters. Therefore, the monsoon Malabar's coffees have the GI tag in terms of the processing, which is unique for India and very high demand for the Scandinavian countries, especially. And in fact, the story behind this evolvement of these coffees is very interesting, also, which you can explore later. The other important specialty coffee is the Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold, that is MNEB, which is no premium grade which from the washed Arabica bold beans. These coffees are being prepared. This is MNEB, Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold coffees from Arabica bold beans. And Robusta coffee oil, this is the premium Robusta grade grade, and which is being prepared from the washed that is wet processed Robusta coffee with bold round beans. And these three are the specialty coffees of which Monsoon Malabar is having geographical indication also. Apart from specialty and the commercial grades which we have, which we trade, we have other specialty coffees like estate branded coffees, and organic coffees also increasing over the period. And the of late, the certified coffees in terms of the fair trade, wood, rainforest alliance, or any other such certified coffees also increasing. And our high grown coffees, especially the Arabicas that is being produced in the high elevations like Baba Budangiris, are being considered in the specialty coffees segment and being traded in terms of the specialty or the high grown coffees or the micro lots or the other gourmet coffee segments. Apart from the other specialties, we do have special varieties of coffee which can be prepared into a micro lot based on their unique and their cup quality. Of the regional, as I mentioned, that we have 13 regional logos. We defined the regions with unique characteristics and 3 specialties. Of the total these, we have 7 geographical indications, which Monsoon Malabar, which I already mentioned for both the Monsoon Malabar Arabica and Robusta coffee, we have GI tag. And leaving the specialty Monsoon Malabar coffee, we have the regional coffees, which we recently, 2019, we got the GI registration for Coorg Arabica coffee, Wayanad Robusta coffee, Chikmagalur Arabica coffee, and Araku Valley Arabica coffee, Baba Budangiri's Arabica coffee. These coffees also been got GI tag, which can be used for trade or the export purpose. While in terms of the production and exports, as I already mentioned that we are producing about close to 3 to 3.2 lakh metric tons of coffee, but our exports are performing well in the recent years, mainly by the contribution of the exports of the value-added coffee exports in terms of the re-exports. In terms of the export value realizations, we export around close to 6,000 crores, which fetches around 1 billion, close to 1 billion US dollars. In the of the total exports, this slide explains you the different formats of the exports. India, over the period when you look at India used to be a bulk of the green coffee exports like other producing countries. In 1990s, more than 95% of the total exports contributes in terms of the green coffee itself. However, of late, as I mentioned, that instant coffee exports, because India has become a hub for instant coffee manufacturing. There are many instant coffee manufacturers established their units in export-oriented units, and they import a lot of low-price Robusta beans from Robusta producing countries and use for instant and exports. Therefore, our total exports in terms of the value-added coffees have increased from close to 4% in 1990s to recently we exported around 32% of our total exports are in terms of the value-added coffee exports. This of the total value-added, the value-added coffee exports includes both roasted coffee exports and instant coffee exports. However, India traditionally is not a major roasted coffee exporters. The roasted coffee mainly mainly for the domestic market purpose. However, it is not being exported in large volumes because it's being concentrated in the importing countries. However, our instant coffee exports have increased significantly over the period, and then from 5% of the total exports during 1990s, now we have reached to more than 30% of the total exports in terms of the instant coffee exports. While in terms of the green coffee, as I have already shown earlier, the specialty green coffees, which is also that means Monsoon Malabar coffee or Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold, and then Robusta Coffee Royal. These coffees are also increasing over the period, and these coffees are being constituting around 5% of our total exports. And the commercial green coffee exports share over the period has declined, which is a good sign. That means India is moving towards the value addition and then value-added coffee exports. And our green coffee exports are close to around 60 to 65% of our total exports from the country. These two slides, which since the topic is mainly on the specialty and the value-added coffee exports, therefore, I further divided into the exports over the period of the specialty coffees as well as the value-added coffees. Of the total specialty coffee exports, here in terms of the statistics purpose, the specialty coffee exports constitutes only the three defined specialty coffees, that is Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold, Monsoon Malabar coffee, and then Robusta Coffee Royal. Of the total specialty coffee exports, Monsoon Malabar coffee is having highest share, followed by the Robusta Coffee Royal, and then Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold. While in terms of the value-added coffee exports, which increased substantially, as I already mentioned, of the total value-added exports, lion's share, we can say even the 99% is constitutes the instant coffee exports only. The roasted coffee exports are very minimal, very, very minimal, insignificant. Where we have a lot of scope, though the importing countries are strong and then good in this particular coffee preparations, but still this which can add higher value as well as the higher margins for the exporters, which can be looked into a opportunity for exports. This slide basically gives the value realizations in specialty and value-added coffee exports, which can be shared at later point of time to you. Therefore, I conclude my presentation with that. There is a scope for producers as well as the players or the exporters, whoever is involved. There is a fast-growing, high-value market segment that is a gourmet or specialty coffees, where these coffees are characterized by high quality and non-tangible features, which are recognized, which can give high rewards. The gourmet coffees are the high quality coffee which command premium over mainstream coffees, and there are single origin or the estate branded coffees or the micro lots in specialty coffees. These coffees will which can be traceable, which are distinct and quality coffee. Usually they fetch premium prices from roasters and the consumers. Therefore, there is a vast opportunity exists to get into the niche premium gourmet segment. Though the volumes are small, but their value realizations are high, and then the margins will be higher. Similarly, of late, the voluntary sustainable standard certified coffees are coming, gaining momentum. There are many sustainable standard certified coffees are in the market, like organic, fair trade coffees, Woods Rainforest Alliance, and there is 4C. In fact, even the Nestle with AAA Nespresso quality and Starbucks with coffee certifications of Starbucks. These are all the certified coffees which are gaining momentum and which gets higher values in the market. They basically they work on three pillars of sustainability, both that is social, economic, and environmental sustainability angles, which can add value to the product and then give higher values. And these certified coffees have potential to create value for small coffee producers as well as the players, the traders, whoever is involved in the trade as certified coffees, and which earns premium in the international market. Thank you very much, and I conclude my topic. And if anybody wants to have clarifications, you are free to ask, please.
So thank you so much for the presentation, sir. It's quite an insightful presentation, starting from how the international market is playing out in terms of value addition, and also the present outlay of the specialty coffee exports from India, and also the potentiality we have in terms of improving our share in terms of value addition. In fact, we have a lot of learning we can take from Colombia